Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another video here on the Conservative Pelican YouTube channel. I've had some things on my heart over the last few months, and it's been regarding why I moved from North Carolina to Florida, and now why I want to move back from Florida to North Carolina. And this is kind of a memoir. I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. Now, I could write something on my blog about it, but I'm like, this is when you do a video memoir, people, you can be more authentic with your audience. You can display more feeling. Okay. So that's why I'm going to do a video, and I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm just going to sit here and talk and tell y'all what's up. So here we are. This is April the 8th, 2018. 2 months from today, the very first day of the North Carolina Republican Party convention will begin. And this will be part of my big comeback to North Carolina, or as McCory likes to say, Carolina comeback. So yeah, 2 months from today will be the first day of the convention. So a very exciting comeback on that front. So as you can see, my voice is projecting a lot, so you should be able to hear me because this is a big empty room. We're doing some renovations here around the Crawford family compound down here in South Florida. So I'm like, you know what? I'm wide awake tonight. Let's see. Last night I got home from work about 9:30, and then I had to get up and be at work at 6 a.m. the next day. Got home at 3. Took like a 3-hour nap. So gosh, I'm wide awake and I'm ready to go and ready to talk to y'all. So okay, let's get to it. I want to go back to the late 2013, 2014, and I was living in Wilmington, North Carolina at the time. And in my opinion, during my time in Wilmington, I was very content as a person. And a lot of you may think, well, that's good, but here I was in my late 20s. And honestly, that's kind of a bad thing, especially when you just have a high school diploma and you're working 2 jobs and still, for some reason, you do not want to, go and get a college degree and then only have to work 1 job for 40 hours a week rather than work 2 jobs, 60 hours a week just to make, ends meet, so to speak. And I was like, I didn't really I looked at where I was at in North Carolina and I looked at Florida and I said, I thought that I really could have made it work in Florida the first time around. I thought the first reason why I left Florida back in 2009, my first time in Florida, was really because of my parents' divorce, and I had to get away from all the muck and the mire that created on me, and even more so my younger sister, who just recently turned 18. So unfortunately, she really, I got a lot of crud in my life from my parents' divorce, but she really got it 1,000 times deeper than I did. And in 2013, I lived in North Carolina. I was looking at Florida. I was like, at this time, I was bummed because that year in 2013, I had to pay 2013 or 2014, one of those years, after the Republicans did the tax reform. I went from getting about $200 in a state tax refund to paying $60, actually owing the state of North Carolina $60 in taxes. And I didn't like that much. And also that winter, 2013, 2014, we had 2 winter storms. The first storm was a was pretty much an ice storm, about a sheet of ice and everything. And my boss really wanted me to come into work. It was, I liked the job. I liked the company's auto parts delivery job. It was good people over there, auto supply company. But yeah, I got into a pretty bad argument with my boss. Fortunately, though, this was like my attendance there was pretty darn good. I think I missed in 2.5 years there, I missed maybe 1 day of work or something. So, he forgave me for that, and we were able to work past the winter storm debacle. And of course, 2 weeks later, the boss said, "Hey, look, I'm out of here. Please take the day off." So we kind of were able to get on the level, but still, I was worried about. I really, really, really did not like winter weather. Okay, so I looked at that, and then I looked at what I was doing for a living at that time was delivering pizza or Papa John's, and of course the auto parts job. And so I started looking, and eventually I came up with, I think I need to move to Orlando. I could work at Disney, I could work at Universal, I could probably make more money, have better benefits, better quality of life. I'm closer to my parents. I'll now be only about an hour and a half drive versus about a 10-hour drive from North Carolina. And it really, when I looked at the pros and I looked at the cons, honestly, it was like, wow, no contest, right? I need to move to Florida. And so now, of course, next thing was I needed a date to move. And I'm like, I really want to finish this election cycle in North Carolina politics. I was like, you know what? The day after the election in November 2014, I'm going to move down to Florida. Okay, so the day after the election, I get in the car, I drive, and I get that first kind of ominous, maybe a bad sign that maybe I'm making a mistake because I get to the I go down the road called MLK Parkway, Wilmington. And then, of course, you have to, if you want to go west of Wilmington, you have to cross over the Isabel Holmes drawbridge over the Cape Fear River. So here it was about 4:30 in the morning. I like to get off to an early start when I go on long drives. It's just one of those things I like to do. 4:30 in the morning, drawbridge goes up, and, there goes 20 minutes of my life. I mean, 4:30 in the morning, a drawbridge goes up. 20 minutes. So I drive. I take the back way. I wanted to go past Myrtle Beach and Charleston, a little bit more scenic drive. So I go to Myrtle Beach, and I go to this place that I like to go for breakfast in Myrtle Beach called Sea Captain's House. Now here's not a bad sign. I get to Sea Captain's House. I was hoping to get there right when they open at 6, but because of the drawbridge delay, I get there probably about 6:20, 6:30. So I go there, and I want to get the buffet, and oh my gosh, there's probably 50, 100 golfers there. I'm like, it's a weekday in November. Are you freaking kidding me? All these people at 6:30 in the freaking morning having breakfast on a weekday in November. I'm like, oh man, Now I'll tell you, I always like the view at Sea Captain's House. I always like the biscuits, the gravy, the food's really good. But I'm like, this particular buffet, I think I had maybe 1 or 2 plates, but man, all those people and crowds, I'm like, oh, I should have gone to Mammy's Kitchen. That's a really good breakfast buffet. A little bit cheaper than Sea Captain's House. Honestly, the food, it's a better value at Mammy's. Is it kitchen or cupboard? What Mammy's something? MAMMY something there. Okay. So I get out of Myrtle Beach. I drive down, go through Charleston, go on the newly widened U.S. Highway 17 from Charleston over to what's that town right there where 17 and 95 meet? I think Hardyville or Yemassee, South Carolina. So I go down there and then let's see, what else do I do? And then, of course, by that time, I'm down around Pooler, Georgia, which is a suburb of Savannah, just north of Savannah. Now I'm going to have lunch at a place called Stevie B's Kitchen. There's Stevie B's Pizza, which honestly I like better than CC's, but unfortunately, Stevie B is not really doing that well, even though they have way better food than CC's. I don't understand. This location right outside of Savannah is closed now, but I went there in November 2014. But another bad sign of this trip to Florida was it took me probably a good 20 minutes to find the location because you could Google Maps and it should be right off the road, but it's not. It's like behind like 2 or 3 strip malls off the road. It's weird. So anyway, get back in the car and I take a scenic route off 95. I go on Highway 17. Oh my gosh, South Georgia is so beautiful. And it's still relatively unspoiled and everything. Very scenic, a lot of good pine, wood forest. I really haven't been to the beaches there in South Georgia, but I mean, the pine forest and the marshlands and these Carolina bays and everything just very scenic over there. It's a good drive on Highway 17. As I get to my hotel for that night, I was staying at a place called the Sleep Inn, which is a very good hotel right there in, St. Mary's, Kingsland. Yeah, the exit right before you get into Florida on I-95, right before the Florida-Georgia line. No pun intended to the country music band. But, so, now I get there and I pay it's a deal. I paid like $51 for a pretty nice sleep-in room. Yeah, middle of the week, but still a pretty good deal. $51 for sleep-in is pretty good because most rates of sleep-in, you'd be lucky to get something for under 100 or 75 maybe. But okay, so I get there. It's about 15 minutes before check-in. I get there at 2:45. And I'm like, they're like, the room's not ready. I'm like, oh, geez, can you just give me an extra 15 minutes? And, that was another bad sign of the trip, I should say. So I sleep, and then I think, what day was it? Thursday, I'm trying to think. Okay, Wednesday, and then Thursday, wait a minute. Yeah, Friday I get to Orlando. I go to a really, really nice place called the Doubletree Inn, which I paid like $89 a night, which is a great deal at that time. Because a lot of the hotels, I was right around the University of Central Florida. A lot of the hotels over there, I mean, my gosh, it's like $100, $150 a night. It's ridiculous. So, anyway, I start making arrangements to look for a place to live when I get down there. I make a few phone calls, look at some ads on Craigslist. I talked to this really nice lady named Karen. She seems like an older lady, probably. She seemed to be probably somewhere in her 60s, maybe early 70s at the most, but she seemed like a really nice lady. So I tour a house over in Longwood, okay, which from UCF is pretty far. It's like 30, 45 minutes away. And what I was looking at, it was like $500 a month, but everything was included. But there was a security deposit too, and that kind of thing. So now I looked at another house. It was a little bit further south. I wanted to be in Winter Springs, Oviedo area, just because it seems like a pretty nice place to live. It was kind of, on the east side of Orlando. It's good access to, if I need to get out of Florida and go north, or if I want to go see my parents and go south, good access. But yeah, so the second house was in Winter Springs. I looked there and I thought the guy told me that the place was furnished. And it turns out it was a different guy who showed me the house different from the one who who I was on the phone with the night before. He said, no, it's not furnished. He's Hispanic and everything too. He spoke pretty good English, but still I could tell he somebody says, is it furnished? And they say, oh yeah. And then it's like next day they say, no, it's kind of okay. Language barrier issue. Whoop, whoop. And by the way, that might be in my 101 things I hate about Florida, language barrier issue. So anyway, I get there, the place is unfurnished, and the guy wants way too much money, and I think I have to pay for my own cable, and internet, just go everything. It's like, no, not doing this. Okay, now we get to Miss Karen's house, okay? The nice lady. So I drive into the neighborhood, and I really like the neighborhood. It seems very, a lot of good shopping, a lot of good restaurants. Just seems like a pretty nice area. And a really nice neighborhood, too. The house that Miss Karen was in was built in 87. But honestly, at first looked at the neighborhood and was like, it could probably go for mid-late 90s. So I get there, and the house looks really nice. The room looks really nice. $450 a month for everything except, and this is a huge except, y'all, except for internet service. Okay. Now, Karen and her, I think it's her cousin Eddie, they both live at the house. They each have a bedroom, and I would rent the third bedroom out. Very nice people. They put on their best performance and everything. And I tell them, be like, unfortunately, I was not as firm as I should have been on the internet issue. I told them, I said, I love this house. I love this neighborhood. Oh yeah, the thing that's holding me back from renting is the internet. And they're like, oh, that's no big deal. Yeah, we just saw an ad for that HughesNet Gen 4 thing, and we've had another tenant get internet here too, and so I'm like, okay. I'll take the room. I'll get the internet hooked up. So, okay. So, the internet. This turned out to be a huge cancerous issue. Okay. So I call up the Bright House, which is now called Spectrum. And I'm like, I want internet service ASAP. And they're like, okay, the quickest we get there is probably Thursday. I'm like, oh, man, no. Okay, so then I call Karen and Eddie's recommendation, HughesNet. I said, look, when's the quickest I can get internet service? They're like, sir, we can get there first thing Monday morning. I'm like, sold. Without ever doing any research on HughesNet, I'm thinking internet is internet. It's going to be unlimited. I'm going to pay probably no more than, $30, $40 a month. I can watch as many videos as I want. I can stream. I can do whatever I want. Unlimited, baby. Woo! Freedom! Okay, so I get the HughesNet set up, and they're like, now you can rent or buy a router. And I'm like, okay, I'll go and buy. It was like $50 or $100. It was very expensive. So I did that. Another bad sign. I probably wasted my money there. And then I get the HughesNet. I get it hooked up and everything. And I'm like, hey, this is really fast, good internet. Okay. So I probably had it for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. I was downloading all kinds of podcasts and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, my internet speed, it goes from really fast, like, to, it was slow, like even slower than Granny walking in a Walmart in South Florida. Really slow, okay? Snails. So I call up HughesNet. I'm like, okay, what happened to my internet? It was very fast and it went very slow. And they're like, well, we have data caps here at HughesNet. And I was like, oh no, don't tell me this. Okay, well, it's only been like 2 weeks and I need more data. And I was paying way too much. It was like $50 a month. But free installation was still $50 a month for internet that has data caps. for $50 a month for about 10 or 15 gigs of data. Which if you watch 1 hour of Netflix, you use 1 gig of data. So that tells you, yeah, not a whole lot of gigs. But then they tell me that, okay, well, we can bump it up to about 50 gigs, but you're going to be paying 89, which after tax is like $95 a month. I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so, yeah, I got ripped off. Another thing, too, I was in a 2-year contract, which I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck here for 2 years. So anyway, now let me backtrack just a little bit. Okay, so I have a really good friend from college who lives in Pittsburgh. From Pittsburgh, lives in Pittsburgh. But back in 2014, he wanted to move to Florida. And he was actually wanting to move to Orlando. And we were thinking about maybe, becoming roommates, that kind of thing. Like, hey, that'd be great. Because we were roommates in college, too. We got along very well. So he's actually renting a room from somebody living in a trailer park over Kissimmee. So I'm like, okay, I go on a Sunday over to Kissimmee, and I take the toll road, which is another bad sign. Living in Florida versus North Carolina, I got to take a toll road to get anywhere fast or anywhere without traffic congestion. Oh my goodness, painful. So him and I, we meet up and we decide to go have dinner, start driving from Kissimmee to St. Cloud. Finally, we decide, okay, let's do a Chinese buffet place. Buffet City, which is really, really good, I must say. Highly, highly recommend it if you're ever in St. Cloud, Florida, and you have a hankering for Chinese, you have to go to Buffet City. It is great. Okay, so him and I, we have dinner, and I'm probably about halfway through my first plate when I get a phone call. And it's Miss Karen, wonderful, sweet Miss Karen. And she, the day before, when I decide, okay, I'm going to take the room, she tells that I take blood pressure. She takes blood pressure medicine, and I hit my head on the glass door the day before. She told me that. Okay, well, I'm having dinner with my best friend who I haven't seen in like 10 years, and she calls me out of the blue and said, hey, Bobby, I hit my head the other day, and she starts repeating her story, and I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, another bad sign that I should not have made this move. So she turns out to be not a good roommate. My roommate in North Carolina, him and I were very independent people. And that's who I need when I move back to North Carolina. I need somebody who's very independent, has her own life, and I like our living arrangement to be kind of business partners, basically. Look, we'll be kind, we'll be respectful, and everything, okay? But, I have my own life. I'll respect yours, and I'm just going to pay the rent once a month. But Karen, boy, ooh, man, she just wanted to talk to me all the time. She's like, I get lonely, Bobby. I'm like, Karen, please. I just want to go watch TV in my room and be by myself. It was just, it was a mess living with her. And Eddie and I, we got along really good. Eddie was a good person. I think, unfortunately, he's, I'm not going to go into details about him. He's a good guy, just, made some bad choices probably. But yeah, and then she just eventually got to the point where she had to go to the hospital. She had to go to assisted living. I was like, okay, well, that's probably what she needs. And then over the next almost 2 years of me living there, she went to assisted living for 2 weeks, then she was back home for 2 weeks. Assisted living for 2 weeks, back home for 2 weeks. Blah, blah, flop and flop. And, her son, he's about early 40s. Real good guy, too, from Rhode Island. Strong Patriots and Red Sox fan. Strong New England accent, too. A good guy. Son came down probably 2 or 3 times in that period. try to convince, Karen, Mom, you really need, we need to put you in assisted living because you can do your own thing and you'll be taken care of better here. And she just refused. I mean, working at my job here now, I've encountered a lot of seniors who honestly, they really need to get in the assisted living facility and, have somebody take care of them because they're honestly, they're denying themselves. They think they can be independent, but they can't. So anyway, that was that. Another thing I'll say about the internet, because, it was a satellite dish internet. So guess what? Anytime it rains, which in the summertime in Florida, it rains every single day, you lose internet service. Woohoo! So I'm trying to think, what else did I want to say about that time in Florida, in Orlando? So I got there, right, and then I think on Monday, I started making a phone call on Monday or something to the Papa John's I wanted to work at. And that turned out to be another big mistake. Anyway, so I go to this, by Thursday, he tells me, okay, can you come in today at 4? I was like, okay, I'll come in today at 4, 3:55, be punctual, super punctual. I get there and, I take my first delivery and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a piece of cake. I have my GPS and everything. It's going to be okay. Traffic shouldn't be this bad, right? Wrong. It took almost an hour of being in the car, okay, all that gas, all that wear and tear to do one delivery. That's how bad the traffic was. I mean, the traffic in East Orlando is just crazy. You have a road called University Boulevard, which hasn't been upgraded since 1986. You have another road called Alethea Trail, which has not been upgraded since 1991. And guess what? Yeah, that part of East Orlando has grown by like thousands of percentage points. And like over 100,000 people over there. And man, but yet here's me. Here's the conservative Pelican and me always having this feeling of, you know what? It's going to get better here. I know I can stay here. It's going to get better. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to get more familiar with the area. Traffic can't be this bad every single day. I'm like, yes, it can. Oh, boy. Don't even get me started on weekends or weekdays. Oh, my gosh. Just, there was this one delivery I took. It was to H&R Block, which is right across the street from where Papa John's was. Here's the problem. I'd have to make a bunch of crazy U-turns and crazy unsafe left turns to get there. So I took the other delivery, which is on like 5 miles past H&R Block, and I came back because that way I could take a right turn into H&R Block rather than making a left turn. And that didn't sit well off my boss. So I said, I'm sorry, man, traffic is traffic around here. And, I think he understood, but then again, I think he wanted everybody there to be, I don't know, a race car driver or something. But, I was never fired from Papa John's. That I will say the people I worked with in Orlando versus Wilmington was night and day. The people in Wilmington were so much friendlier. You say, hey, how you doing? And they go over and take 5 minutes and tell you their life story there in Wilmington. Orlando, people are a lot more cliquey and just, they would look at you and they would make these preconceived stereotypes. And the delivery clientele, tips were a lot less. People were generally a lot a lot meaner in Orlando versus Wilmington. Of course, tips were later too. And this Papa John's, one of my biggest mistakes in moving to Florida, I should have done a lot more homework on where I was going to work and everything like that in the area. We had to go the whole UCF campus, which is like the largest campus in the country. Okay, I was like, okay, that's fine. If you have one Papa John's, I think they can handle it. But then you had to do Waterford Lakes and Avalon Park, which honestly, the whole area, delivery area, was probably like the whole size of, I don't know, New Hampshire, or the whole size of Wilmington. Where you had 4 or 5 Papa John's for Wilmington, you had like one for this particular part of Orlando. And there's just so many miles in my car. When I moved to Orlando, I had about 66,000 on my car, and when I ended, I had about 146, so about 80,000 in not even 2 years, versus when I was in North Carolina, I put on about 27,000 a year, so a little bit less, considerably less. But yeah, working at that Papa John's, people were really a lot. Oh my gosh, so many stupid people in Florida. You had so many people on the phone. Of course, you had the language barrier issue because there's so many people in Florida who can't speak English, and there are even a bunch of Americans who can't speak proper English. It's crazy. Another preview of 101 things I hate about Florida. Oh my gosh. But my worst phone calls was always the ones that they called into the store. They said, I see you have this special online, and they want to use the phone to order it. And I try to explain, ma'am, sir, the purpose of online ordering is so you order online and we are not as busy over here, so we can make your pizza, so we don't have to waste time. And, a couple people, they got really mean for me doing that. I was like, okay, fine, we'll do it this once, but, we had another customer say, you've always done it this way. Why are you being this way? I was like, okay, fine, whatever. People need to be a little bit more, lay down the law a little bit more with people, I think. Sometimes customer service. Let's see, I'm trying to think of another. Oh, yeah. When I was at the Papa John's, actually in the store, the place was so disorganized. You always had people who refused to get the phone, okay? You hardly ever had people who, we call them, I call them the designated phone people. The people that, take orders on the phone, and when the phone's not ringing, they're labeling boxes and doing that kind of thing in the front of the store. That's what we had in Wilmington. We didn't have it here in Orlando, and it was a disaster. Okay, so I'm trying to think what else. Okay. Another thing I'll tell you about. I had probably about $2,000 in the bank when I moved from North Carolina to Orlando back in 2014, late 2014. It did not, and I went through that pretty quickly. The problem was, again, the Papa John's job. I was losing money on that. Oh my gosh. And yet I tried to stay patient and positive, thinking things would change, but they did not. So I was like, okay, well, I'll get a second job and we'll see how that goes. Maybe things will get better. They did not. I took a second job with this company. It's a fairly small company. They have maybe 10 locations around the country called Apple Spice Junction. They're a job where I generally work from about 10 till about 2 every day. And then on most other days, I go to Papa John's, usually around 4 or 5, and work till about midnight, 1 o'clock. And yeah. At first, I really liked the owner. The guy's name was John. A very, very nice guy. He was a good business guy, I would say, for the most part. He knew when to be nice and calm, but then again, he also knew when, okay, Bobby, you're slacking today. You need to, step it up a little bit, son. But he also knew when to push you. Kind of the perfect manager, I would say. He was a good manager for the most part. But the first, my orientation day I was there, and gosh, I sent him an email. It was on a Thursday. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning. Maybe an hour later, I get a phone call from him. He's like, hey, can you come in today for an interview? I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So I came in for an interview. We talked a little bit. I was like, okay, can you be here Monday morning at 10 a.m.? It's like, yeah, sure, I'll be here Monday morning. We do that, and he shows me all around, how to check the boxes before they go out for delivery, how to fold boxes, So we go on delivery. It's not very far away, a couple miles round trip from the office. But I ask him a question. I say, okay, so you're going to pay me the minimum wage for delivery for tipped employees, which in Florida is like $5.10 an hour or something. And my tips, expect to make up the difference on that and the $8 an hour minimum wage. Okay. Yeah, so it's $5.10 an hour plus tips basically. So I asked him about gas, and he's like, no, I don't pay for gas. I mean, gas is pretty cheap. You should be able to budget for it and everything. And I'm like, bad sign, Bobby. You probably want to get out of this. But then, my patient positive side took over. It's like, okay, I don't need patient with this job. I'm going to make oodles and oodles of money here. I'm going to forget, I'm not, paying for gas. I'm going to make so much money in tips. That'll be an afterthought. Right? Wrong. Gosh, these deliveries, we went all over Orlando. And outside of getting like $25 for Christmas from John one year, no, never paid for gas. It got to the point where I was always trying to take the closest deliveries. I should say, one catalyst. This store that I worked at was very close downtown Orlando, so guess what? Downtown deliveries, you had to pay for parking. Hardly anybody would validate parking. John would not do it either. I was like, oh, what did I get myself into? And these deliveries, oh man. There was even one day that was going to D-Land, like an hour away. I was like, and they wanted me to take it. So I tried to take it. Fortunately, I was able to get out of it because the boxes were so heavy, I had to rebox everything. So I was like, oh man, but yeah. And then of course, some days we were really behind. I had to take toll roads all the time. It was another expense. I'm like, no wonder this guy can't find workers because he doesn't want to pay crap to his employees. It's crazy, right? So, but I'll tell you the irony of this. Okay. The first day of orientation, right? While I was in orientation for the Apple Spice Junction job, the catering lunch job, there's a message from, I think it was O'Reilly Autos, and one of those auto parts delivery job, and it was in Longwood. It was a little bit closer to where I was living. And they wanted me for an interview. I never called them back. I'm now, why did I not call them back? Ay. So yeah, these deliveries, and yeah, people, I had a lot of lousy tippers for Papa John's, but oh my goodness, these people who were ordering, they're working these $50,000, $100,000 an hour office attorney jobs. They would not tip jack squat. It was crazy. Like $50 order, you get a $5 tip. Oh my gosh. Okay, there was this one order for $600, which I drove like about 15, 20 miles one way to Maitland to the Orlando Magic basketball team. And do you know how much tip I got on that $600 order? Zero. Goose egg. I was taking like 10 boxes, 10 heavy boxes in there, and oh my gosh, unloading stuff, and you know, and they paid with a credit card, and I said, I asked the assistant manager, I think her name was Mary or something, like, I did not get a tip on the $600 order, and it's from the Orlando Magic, so it's a pretty big, you know, organization that I would think would want a tip, and could she look into it? And either she never did, she forgot about it, or the Orlando Magic are just part of the scumbags of Florida, you know, they just don't want a tip. So, trying to think what else. I talked a lot about politics in my blog pieces. I'm not really going to go into that again. If you want to read them, you can go to theconservativepelican.blogspot.com. So these particular jobs, I'll tell you another thing about Miss Karen. We started having a problem with bugs in the house, and I like to eat in my room. I'm a very private person. The one time when but I was constantly saying no, One day I was running really late for work, so I left a couple bowls behind that I shouldn't have. So that day, pest control decides to come like, oh, he's got bowls in his room. Oh, yeah, Miss Karen, you need to see this. He's like, no more eating in your room, Bobby. I was like, oh, gosh. I had that 2-year contract on the internet. I can't move even though I really want to. So I have two choices. I can either start eating in the kitchen in the little dining room there. So I did that one day, and Miss Karen comes out, and she basically talks my ear off and almost harasses me for like 30 minutes. I just want peace and quiet. Why did I ever move to Florida? So yeah, that was the first and only time I ever ate in the kitchen. Okay, yeah, so I disobeyed quite a bit. I just, man, what a rough time in my life. And yeah, the reason for me doing this video is because I it's right for myself, so I can maybe watch it one day if it's really cold and snowy in North Carolina and I'm tempted to move back to Florida. I can watch this video and I can say, no, I'm staying in North Carolina, okay? So anyway, probably one of the worst things about living in Central Florida was the toll roads. I could drive on the boulevards, the arterial roads with all the stoplights, but then I was like, oh my gosh, the traffic's horrible, more crazy drivers. Even though my one big accident in Orlando was on a toll road, not my fault. You can read about that in my blog too, by the way. So I start, it got to the point where it was either I pay the rent, I feed my face, or I pay the tolls. And guess what? I decided, okay, I'm not going to pay the tolls, or just let this go for a while. A while turned into a year. And then, I go to August of 2016, and my life really starts getting pretty crappy. I lose my job at Papa John's because they do MVR checks about every 3 to 6 months, and on this particular day, they find out my driver's license has been suspended. And I tell my manager, I said, okay, well, this is just because of tolls, unpaid tolls. Is there any way around this? He didn't know there was not. So I was like, okay, well, I'll pay these off when I can. And I leave that Papa John's. I never call them again. I never come by and visit. And that was that. I just really got really low some point in my life for losing a job that way, So after that, I was actually before that, I was actually for a third job, believe it or not, to try to, get these tolls paid off and get my life in a positive financial direction. Just couldn't find anything. And then I got a license suspended. That's a whole other issue. And of course, I'm driving this whole time. Oh, by the way, my registration on my car is like 5-6 months expired. So the next thing was let's see. Okay, I get into September and I'm behind on rent. And it gets to the point, there was this one positive moment. And I know that Apple Spice getting ready to find out about my suspended license because they have all the drivers write their insurance information down. I'm like, oh boy, uh-oh. So I was like, okay. This was about a week before payday. Payday comes, okay? And I'll tell you, this is another horrible thing I didn't like about Apple Spice. The paydays used to be every other Friday, and then they changed to it's going to be, the 1st and the 15th of the month. It'll be like a day after that. Okay. This particular day, this was September 16th of 2016. Okay. Okay. I was so hoping to get paid because I was going to go away for the weekend and take my last car trip for a while. Okay. So that day, I'm hoping, I'm praying, I'm like, oh, please, God, I want to get paid. I want to enjoy my life for a couple days, actually, get out of this hellhole. And okay, so I get there at 10, 10:30, nothing, 11, 11:30, 12. Finally, 12:30, I come over to John. I was like, John, are we getting paid today? He's like, Bobby, I really, really wanted to pay you today, but I just got so backed up with catering orders. And I'm like, I just tell him, okay. But then I go back to my car, and I'm just like, hang my head down. I'm like, John, I'm saying this to myself. I'm like, John, really, man? Could you put your employees first, I mean, if you can't get paychecks out on time, you ought to hire somebody to do that, And I never tell them this. I'm very introverted, and I just, I'm maybe a little bit too nice and patient with people, but whatever. That's usually a good thing about my personality too. But so the reason why I wanted to badly go away that weekend was because I was behind on rent, and I told, it's the 15th of the month. Okay, first I'm a few days late, and by like day 2 or 3, it's like, where's the rent, Bobby? I'm like, I don't have it. I try and stall them, right? The 15th rolls around, so okay, I'm going to have it by the 15th, it's like, okay, one more day. And I tell them, this is the truth, by the way, I tell them, okay, my employer was so busy on other things, he couldn't get the paychecks out. I said, I promise you on Monday, we'll get them out. Okay. So what happened was, I get paid Monday, okay? I decide to go to a hotel in Orlando and stay for a couple nights. And I actually did this a lot because I hated where I lived, and I hated my roommate. Did this a lot. Stayed in hotels quite a bit. And yeah, so I went in the hotel, I got some Papa John's pizza, watched some Monday Night Football. I was on my laptop quite a bit, and I went to Olive Garden the next day, got a nice big order, stayed in the hotel pretty much all the time and just ate a lot and watched TV and hang out and just live, Honestly, it's what I like to do. One of the things I like to do, maybe not the most glamorous thing, but hey, it brings me joy, right? Okay, so, and now we have Wednesday morning. Okay, so I take off Monday, and what did I take off? No, I worked Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, I take off, okay? Wednesday, it's Wednesday morning, I'm like, oh, geez, I have to go back home sooner or later, but I'm just not ready yet. I want to take a little road trip. So I take a road trip, go down the Florida Turnpike, go down 441, go to Lake Okeechobee. And I go pretty much around the whole lake. And then I'm back up in Sebring area. Nice small little town there in Florida. One of the few places that has not been destroyed by developers. So I give my mom a call. I'm like, hey, Mom and I are out. Can I come over tonight and maybe spend the night having dinner? She's like, oh, sure, Bobby. Come on over. So I go over there and I'm like, I'm just kind of here. I'm just in the area and I'm getting ready to lose my car. I just want to take one final trip. She's like, okay, you can spend the night. And then the next morning she wanted me to get out of there. I was hoping she'd let me stay the whole day pretty much. But no, she had other things to do, and she wanted me to leave. I was like, okay, Mom, that's fine. Thanks for dinner and everything. So I go to my dad's house, and I'm like, Dad, we talked for a little while, have some fun. And I'm like, Dad, is there anyone who can spend the night tonight? He's like, okay, sure, son. So I do. Then Thursday turns into Friday, and Friday I get a little extra money, so I go have a meal at the mall, and then I go to the movies, watch Sausage Party, which is kind of I don't know if I really like the movie or not. I don't know. And then I'm like, okay, it's about 7:30, 8 o'clock Friday night. And I'm like, I really want to drag this out as much as possible because I don't have the rent. I do not want to face the music of Eddie or Miss Karen. So I go over and back to Mom's house. I'm like, Mom, I'm really not feeling well. Can I spend the night here? And actually, my sister was there. I was like, hey, sis, are you going out? She's like, yeah. Mom's in Daytona, but if you want to stay here, you can. But then Mom calls like 5 minutes later. She's like, she wants to know everything. My sister's honest. That's fine. Because Bobby's here. He's going to spend the night. Like, Mom's like, no. I want the whole place shut off. Try to save money. So I told Mom, I said, Mom, I really don't feel well. I really don't feel like going back tonight. She's like, well, your dad's has a place. Go over there. So I go to my dad's house. But he was actually, the light was out in his house. He was sleeping. I had to bang really hard on the door, and I had to call him like 5 times on the phone because he was in a deep sleep. He was pretty grumpy when I forced him up, but he said, okay, son, you can stay here tonight. So I stay here the night. Now I'm still trying to stall Dad a little bit. I'm like, Dad, I'm like, but he's like, okay, when do you want to leave? And he's like, and so finally we kind of say, okay, I'll leave around noon and face the music. So I go back to Orlando, but first I'm like, I'm going to stall this thing as much as I possibly can. And I go to drive to the library. Now, let me backtrack a little bit, okay? I should note that my car was pretty much on the repo list at this time. So for about a month or so, I had to play a game of cat and mouse with the repo man. What that meant was that I only went to work. On a weekday, I made sure I left the house before 8 o'clock. I made sure I was not back at the house until after 6. Okay. There's one time that the repo man showed up like 5 minutes before 8, knocked on the door, not very hard, thank God, because nobody else in the house was awake. I was awake, but I was taking a shower. I got out of the shower. I heard the knock on the door. It's like, uh-oh. It's like, okay, just pretend you're not here. Just be busy and stay in your room. Just kind of go like this. Go away, repo man. No, not today. No, repo man. No, please, God, please. Push him away. And It so yeah. After that, I started leaving like 7:45. Okay. So anyway, go back to late September 2016. I was going to the library in Oviedo. I get off of the 417 tollway, and no, I was still racking the tolls up, so to speak. So, and I still had this was 2016 September. I had my registration license plate still said 316 on there. So I get off the exit there at Oviedo on Red Bug Lake Road, turn right, get into the far left-hand lane because I need to make a left turn very soon to go to the library. And turn there on Route 434. Well, while I was proceeding east on Red Bug Road, I see a police car. And he's driving, he's in the basically right, I'm in the far left lane going east. He's in the far left lane going west, and he's about to turn. Okay. And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking to myself, I should still be okay because there's lots of traffic around me and everything, or so I thought. Well, he makes a very quick U-turn, okay? And he actually goes way over to the far right-hand side. He goes into a gas station parking lot. Me, I'm still in the left lane, getting ready to turn left on 434. Well, by this time, and he must eat a lot of carrots because he saw my license plates expired. So he comes like 4 lanes over to the far left lane where I am, okay? And I'm thinking to myself, oh no, man, is what I'm thinking going to happen about to happen? Okay, so he's behind me now. I turn left, okay, have my blinker on and everything, of course, always, but especially with the police, never be too careful. And as soon as the light turns a green for the green arrow, turn left, because it's a busy intersection, you have to have a green arrow to turn left. He flashed the lights on. I'm like, oh my gosh. Ugh. I was like, okay, he's got me. He knows I have the expired plate and everything. I'm like, okay. So I pull over the most logical place I can, which is the Walgreens parking lot. So he stops me. He's like, I have license and registration. It's like, okay, here's my license and registration information. And so he says, your license is suspended. Can you tell me why? I was like, well, yeah, a lot of unpaid tolls and everything, sir. It's like, okay, be honest with me. He's like, yeah, sir, unpaid tolls. And I give him the list and everything, and he feels sorry for me. I can tell. He's like, okay, well, thanks for being cooperative with me. For you being all driving to suspend a license, I could send you to jail right now, but because you've been so cooperative, I've decided to let you go. But you're going to have to leave the car here. And I'm like, oh, geez, I'm about 6 miles from home, and it's 90 degrees outside, 95% humidity. How in the world am I going to get home? I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe I could just, drive the car back home and try to sneak out of there. And I was like, I'm probably high on their hit list right now, so I better not do that. So I use my brain and I say, okay, I'll Facebook them. I put on there, I said, hey, I need a ride. I'm stranded at the Oviedo Walgreens on such road. And say, okay, I need to get over to Dodd Road and go from there. And I have a good friend. He picks me up and go back home. And then I have a coworker of mine, apparently works and looking for me. I'm like, oh, geez, at work, I completely forgot about that. They're feeling the worst. They think I'm in the hospital. I mean, they've called everywhere, hospitals everywhere, they can try and find me. So my friend from work comes over and he's like, hey, man, you need to call John right away as soon as possible. Okay. So I do that. And he pays for my tow. I'm very thankful that he did. Towed my car back to the house. Offered to do that. I appreciate that very much. You know who you are. Not going to use names. I like to protect people, But thank you. You know who you are. Thanks, buddy. So I decide, let's see, it's Sunday now. I mean, I'm stalling. I hear Eddie is outside in the living room. Well, okay, I'm going to stay in my room as much as possible. I hope and pray that he's getting ready to go to work at Burger King or whatever, and he is. But of course, then he knocks on my door. I'm like, oh man, it's like, oh, where's the rent? Bob was like, man, I'm going through so much crap right now. My license got suspended. I'm just being truthful with you, man. He's like, okay, well, I have to call up Karen's son and see what's going on. So okay. So Monday rolls around. I never called John back. I texted him and I said, listen, man, I got a personal problem. I can't work for you anymore. And he texts back, said, okay, well, let me know if you want to come back. So obviously he thought highly of me, which I'm like, okay, that's good. But still, if I do things over again, I would not work for him. He just, he's a nice guy, but the business that he ran, yeah, no money. He lost money then. So landlord comes, Karen's son tells Eddie. Eddie tells me, he says, listen, unless you have $200 by the end of the month, which this was Monday, the end of the month was Saturday. We want you out here on Saturday. Like, okay, fine. So, of course, I'm like, okay, I'm calling mom, I'm going to talk to dad. Talked to them probably 2 or 3 times that week. I was like, okay. Fortunately, I pretty much hit rock bottom in my life. I have no car, no jobs. I'm completely destitute. Poor, right? Pretty much I eat, whatever food I have left. It's like canned veggies or whatever, and some stuff that, been up in Karen's cupboard for a while that she'll probably never notice is gone, and eat that. So Saturday rolls around, my dad picks me up, loads stuff, we go back to Vero Beach, and now I get to look for a job. Woo-hoo! Which should be pretty easy because the economy's getting better and it's getting into holiday hiring season, right? Wrong. The fact that I had suspended driver's license was not a good thing. I explained on my interview about it. I said, listen, the only thing was I was going through financial hardship. I could not pay the tolls. That's why. It was not because I, had a DUI or anything like that. But these interviews, it just, I could not find a job for the life of me. Okay. Let's see. So rolled around until, let's see, one day it was just after the new year in 2017. My mom was going thrift shopping one day, and she told me that God spoke to her and said, she called me and said, you need to check out this program. It's called UP, STEP program, Successful Teaching Employee Partnership, something like that. But United Against Poverty in New River County. And you need to go to this class on Monday morning. I'm like, okay. Of course, I'm like, I have no car. How am I going to get there? And I'm like, well, Dad can take me. But then Dad's like, oh, see what you can do, son. Try to be resourceful. So I'm like, okay. So I walk about a mile every day to a bus stop. Okay. Then I ride the bus for about an hour and a half to get to this class, which was only 3 miles from my house, but still, it's just public transit in a small town. No car. Okay, so I'm in the class from January until just about March. Okay, but and then this program, it really starts rolling the ball for me and gets me thinking positive about my life, and I learned all kinds of things about emotional intelligence and careers and work and everything. And things started turning around, and I landed a job and turns out I see in the newspaper there's an ad for Walmart Neighborhood Market, which is getting ready to open soon. I was like, okay, well, I'll apply for that job. And I did that, and I told the coordinator of the program, hey, listen, I applied to Walmart. He said, great, Bobby, great. I'm going to call them, see what I can do. And guess what? He gave me some interview tips. I went on 2 interviews with Walmart. I thought I did a great job in both. And I want to thank Ron Browning for that. I don't really like to mention names very much, but I do have to mention his name because he's definitely a good guy here in Vero Beach. If you ever get to any kind of real, your life is really, really down, definitely United Against Poverty is a wonderful organization. I hope that someday I can pay him back, give him some big donation one day, hopefully help him out. But I got the job. Been with Walmart now got hired in late February. I've been with them for 13 and a half months now. Walmart, there's been a lot of bad press about them, publicity. Most of it's not true. I'm making 11. I started $9 an hour. Now I'm at $11 an hour, and I've only been there for like a year. And I get PTO, get bonuses every 3 months, usually about $300 or so. So yeah, I'm doing pretty well there. I just try to have a positive attitude every day and try to be thankful. Thankful I have a job because, oh my gosh, it took me 6 months probably to get unemployed for that amount of time. And then, of course, Walmart, found out about, wanted to go back to school, found out about American Public University. So now I'm majoring in business and hope to get a nice office job where I can sit down a lot. Because at Walmart, I'm on my feet constantly the whole time, and I'm working. I have to work with customers. Some customers are really, really nice, great people. I want to get in their cart and go in their car and go have dinner with them. Other customers I never want to see again because they are mean as snot, scumbags, okay? But yeah, and I really miss North Carolina. A lot of that was because of what happened in politics. And again, you can check out my blog for that because this video is going way long. But I can tell you, finally, I was pondering this question really since I moved from Wilmington to Orlando back in 2014. The question was, why in the world did I decide to leave North Carolina in the first place? And it took about 3 years for me to get an answer. Finally, it occurred to me back in September of 2017. I was having one of those nights where I could not sleep worth a darn. I mean, I was tossing and turning, just doing a lot of really deep thinking. Finally, it occurred to me, and it also, the Holy Spirit kind of told me this too. As a Christian, believe in God and definitely believe in the Holy Spirit. I believe everything happens for a reason. Even no matter how good or how bad is, everything I believe happens for a reason. And I believe the reason why I moved back to Florida was because that I had some things that needed fixing in my life. Okay, the very first thing was, I loved politics and being involved in politics out in North Carolina. But the problem was what I did for a job and my career situation was embarrassing. I would tell people, they ask me, what do? You seem like a smart guy. I was like, I deliver pizza and auto parts. So they kind of looked at it like, this guy, I don't know about him. It just kind of became very embarrassing. And honestly, the thing about when I was living in North Carolina the first time was I really enjoyed my jobs. They were very fun, but they did not pay jack squat. And it was a wear and tear on my car, like, oh my gosh, horrible. And it was even worse in Orlando. But in Orlando, I was also losing money in addition to wear and tear on my car. So I had to get that kind of fixed. Another thing, too, was I needed to go back to school. So I had to when I was in North Carolina, the politics was politics was, believe it or not, a distraction from, really getting my life's priorities in gear. So it took, so I had to be disappointed by the Republican Party of Florida because they, ran things completely different in North Carolina. And I say, get that out of my life. And it took actually, the Republican Party of Florida saying, we have closed door meetings here. We do not do conventions like North Carolina does. So it took that, and it took me, hitting rock bottom to balance up, get my life back in gear. So, of course, the college thing, another thing, too. Another thing, which is I'm just starting, like, within the last week or so, is really, really getting my health, my physical health, back on track. Because where I lived, I don't want to get too personal, but I was living with a member of my family and down here in Vero Beach. And they were having some mental health problems, and finally they decided they needed to live somewhere else, live alone without me. So, and in this particular neighborhood, this particular family member, I wanted to walk every day and try to do that, get some exercise, but I just did not like where I lived. The road was very narrow, and the road was right next to a busy road that had no sidewalks. Not only no sidewalks, but the grassy area was a slanted 45-degree angle ditch, okay, where I tried walking one time and almost sprained my ankle. I probably almost did that like 3 times. Fortunately, God was there, and he was holding me up. Thank you, God, from getting the sprained ankle. So last week I moved in with another family member here in Vero Beach. And I'm in a little bit better neighborhood now because they actually have sidewalks along the roads. And better yet, it's a very quiet, low traffic neighborhood too. So, yeah. So, why I left North Carolina to go to Florida? Well, it turns out I had to go through a lot of crap, but it fixed a lot of things in my life. And now I'm going to be even more grateful to be in politics in North Carolina. And I'm ready to say that I love North Carolina. Yeah, it took me a long time. And when I lived in Wilmington, I denied that the whole time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be here for a short period of time, but I don't think I want to be here. But it turns out I did. I had a great roommate. Politics was great. It was fun. And, man, I can't wait to get back in politics again. Only about 2 more months, and I'll be coming home. Maryland will always be my home, childhood home, but North Carolina is my adulthood home. And, I'm going to be leaving on a road trip. I'll talk to you all more about that in another video on May 31st. And then I'm going to be in North Carolina starting on I believe the 6th. The convention starts on the 8th. You get the goodie bag on the 7th, okay? And then should be settled down in Greensboro the following week. And go to the DMV, do all that good stuff, and register to vote. So, anyway, I trying to think if I have anything else to say. This has been a really long video. I apologize, but again, in these video memoirs, I have to be very detailed. I have to put my emotions and my thoughts into them. But if I had anything to say, if you're thinking about wanting to make a change in your life, like move or anything, really, take some time. When I say time, I mean take some, go in a quiet room, think, pray, meditate, pray to God, if you're, whatever, God, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, whatever religion you are, take some time and just really think about where your life is and go, okay. Because if I know what I know now, it's kind of weird. Would I stay in North Carolina? Well, I don't know. I've made a lot of good changes here in Florida, but I don't know. If I lived in Wilmington, still I would check out online colleges and start doing that, putting that in motion. I would budget my money better. I would use the park system better. I would be more involved with politics. I would go to Myrtle Beach a lot more often. Honestly, I would stop this game of complaining all the time and wondering, can life please be perfect? Stop. Okay. Yeah, that's good advice. Okay. If you're one of these people, unfortunately, maybe I kind of am, like, I want life to be perfect. I want everybody to be nice to me. I want everybody on the road to use their turn signals. And, I want everything always to be smiley and hunky-dory. Well, life ain't like that, okay? You have to try to find a place to live and things to do that are going to bring you at least some joy, because some joy is better than no joy. And honestly, when I lived in North Carolina the first time, I had at least some joy. When I lived in Florida and Orlando, and even still now, I have no joy. Okay, no joy in Florida, some joy in North Carolina, and you just have to write down, okay, things. Even do things I'm thankful for, things I'm blessed with, and then after that, if you can stop and go, I'm not moving, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to bloom right where I'm planted here in any town, USA. Or you can look at where you want to move and be like, hey, how does this stack up? Okay. And one final thing, I talked about this in my other video, pros and cons of living in North Carolina versus Florida. But let me say it again, okay? If you really, really feel the need and the desire to move to another town, in another state, in another part of the country even, or in the world, okay, research your number one hobby first, okay? And ask yourself, am I going to enjoy that hobby more in any town USA, or am I enjoying this hobby just fine here where I am? Because what you are really, really passionate about, honestly, regardless of, who you're married to, how many kids you have, what kind of job you have, what kind of political party you belong to, what your religious views are, your passion is everything. What you are passionate about is, I believe, the glue that holds everything else in your life, okay? So for instance, take my situation. If you live in North Carolina and you are very passionate about Republican Party politics, and North Carolina has a really, really good system of doing political business. They have a great convention process, okay? You can and yet you want to move to another state. Make sure you take the time, okay, to research that particular state party's organization, okay? Because I did not do that before I moved to Florida. And man, oh man, I can tell you that was one of the worst mistakes that I had ever made in my life, okay? Because when I went to North Carolina the first time, I felt like I was soaring, okay? I felt like I was so empowered. I felt like, man, gosh, next year I might be a chairman, or I might even be a legislator. These wonderful things are happening, and my passion is growing. My life is growing. And yet I go to Florida, and I felt like I threw it all away. And it got to the point where I'll never forget this. One final thing. I left a Republican Party of Florida quarterly meeting. This was in January of 2016, okay? And it was in Orlando. And I walked out to the car. I was feeling very stressed out, very distraught, because because they put the meeting in closed session. And not only that, but they put, the chairman even moved his report to closed session. What an a-hole Blazes. Oh my gosh. And yeah, Peter Feynman, he moved stuff. People were abusing this closed session thing. Oh my gosh, horrible. So anyway, it was time for me to go. But first, I looked around the room and I said, hey, nobody from Seminole County, which is where I lived at that time, was here. I was like, hey, maybe I'll be able to stay. So I tell and of course, Blaze sends his sharks around the room, make sure only people with blue badges are still in the room, which I had a white badge because I was only a guest, even though I was a very active precinct man. But RPF does not give a damn about that. And so the guy turns to me and he looks at me and says, you know, Bobby, that's a very valid point. And then he says, what's his name? Al is, I forget his last name. Al, the chairman of Seminole's right behind you. I was like, oh, well, I see. I'm sorry. I'm out of here. So I walk out, very stressed, very distraught, and I'm holding back tears. So finally, about 5-10 minutes later, I'm in my car in the park garage, and I start crying. And that drive was about 30 to 35 minutes, and honestly, I could say I probably cried pretty much all the way home. Quiet. I had no music, no podcast, just crying, and a lot of it was praying to God, and just, oh my gosh, it was just, because I was crying because I felt like I'd lost my passion, you know, and just please, gosh, this video is an hour, 20 minutes long. Wow. Don't lose your passion. Don't ever throw away your passion.